Yo, what's up, YouTube? This is your boy Alex. Today is Thursday night, and I am back to do a brand new YouTube video of Sex Game. Now, this one is going to be for the Latina women, sexy mamacitas, hot Latinas. And this title of the episode of the video is going to be called Sex Game Hot Sexiest Women, or should I say Sex Game Hot Sexy Latina Women and Sports. Now, it turns out that part one and part two are very well received. So you know how the rule goes. If part one's very good, then you get a part two. If part two is very good, part three comes. Now, this is just the third video in my series. Now, you're going to have to wait for episodes 4 and 5 because I got to do some research. I got to see if we're going to have the 2021 Olympic Games. It's not official. I don't want to make the video and then you got to wait another 2 to 4 years for an Olympic Games, but that's what I was going to do for this summer. I was going to actually make videos on Olympic sports, but the accident, so I had to improvise and come up with something new. Now, this video is going to be talking about Latina women who also do professional sports. I think it's only fair and respectable that I actually do that. You know, I made one for the black women. I made one. Part one was mix and match. Part one, I put everybody in that video, you know. So it's only fair that I give the sexy mamacitas, the sexy Latinas, their own video. It is well respected and well deserved because I do have Latina women who do watch my YouTube videos everywhere I go. And the last thing I want is to finish out 2020 and they be looking at me with that look like, so everybody else gets a video but us, you know, so I have to do that, you know. Part 1 and part 2 was very well received. It's been a while since I've had 2 videos in a row that performed very well. So, who knows? Part 3 could be as good as part 1 and part 2. It's not 100% guarantee. But I want to say thank you, senor. Thank you. Gracias, senor. You know, I keep telling you, if I didn't lose my job at Disneyland, I would have had the mamacitas actually teach me how to speak the language and say the names that I'm about to announce on this list with some courtesy of respect. But I guess I have to do the best I can. You know, tres, cinco, siete. Yes, I do try to practice. It's not easy. I do try to practice. If I could find somebody to help me brush up my skills on it, then this video will be very more interesting. All right, coming in at number 9 is WWE professional wrestler Bayley. Now, she's actually from the Hola Sensei, I forgot the name of the part of California, but she's right here from California. And she is as sexy Latina as they can get. Now, she's been doing professional wrestling for the last 12 to 13 years. She's won 4 championships. She's competed at WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble. She did appear in the first ever Women's Royal Rumble. And like most women, she has a strong heritage. You know, she comes from that Latina culture and she makes her parents and grandparents proud. And as a wrestling fan, I do admire her because I do watch a lot of her wrestling matches. The only thing that I don't like what they do to Bayley is that they waited so long for her to become a star. Like, I remember the first 4 years, they would just, you know, have her on NXT and then, you know, carry her in the wrestling matches. And I always felt like there is a star that should be coming out. And she had an incredible wrestling feud. She would have great matches with Paige, great matches with my other favorite female wrestler, Sasha Banks. To me, those are like the best matches she's had in her whole career. But you can tell that there are certain moments, certain times where they don't know what to do with her on the ring. You know, they don't know what to do with her character. And when they changed her character up, and made her play heel, which in television we call that a villain, that she got a good critical reception from the fans. It would have been nice if they could have allowed her to get a bigger push in the middle of her career and not wait until now to give her the push that she's been looking for. When she got injured and she had to drop the title, that was disappointing because you had something on Monday Night Raw that you wanted to watch, and fans would tune in to watch her character, and when she got hurt and lost the title, it was like they stopped pushing her. So it makes me wonder, are they going to have something bigger for her down the road? Is she going to win the title back at WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble? Are they going to do the first ever Women's Survivor Series where you get all the females to fight each other and do like how they do the men? So it's like they must have something much bigger for her if they make you drop the title on short notice and then promise you'll get the belt back. So I am a fan. And plus, my best friend have a crush on her, so that's why she's on this list. I mean, she's very talented. I mean, it's just unfortunate a lot of people don't give her judge due, her respect, and her credit. When her career is finished, she's gonna want to be in the Hall of Fame like all the other divas, and she can hang with the best. Like, just imagine if she came maybe 7 years earlier, and just imagine some of the wrestling matches Bayley could have had. She could have wrestled Trish Stratus. She could have wrestled Lita. Had she came 7 or 8 years earlier, you would have seen her be able to compete on a, like, to me, she's on that level because they never had nobody like her with the she's athletic, she's explosive, and the fact that she can talk on the mic. Most wrestlers don't have the ability to talk on the mic. She can talk on the mic. Like, it may not seem like it to a lot of people, but she can do it in a way where it's clever and she can get away with it. Coming in at number 8 is Alexa Crasso. Sorry if I butchered the last name. Now, she is the first ever Latina female mixed martial arts. This was like in the mid to late 2000s, and at that time we had people from Brazil doing martial arts, and she became the first Latina to do mixed martial arts, and she did manage to win a championship, and she managed to, in short of a period, start knocking people out. And immediately you could see comparisons between her and another person that I'm going to put on the future video. It's not going to be on this one, but it's going to be on a future video because I have yet to make that future video yet to become a reality because I still have to play the numbers in my head. But she's earned a spot on this list because she's made history. You know, you had the first ever Latina come into mixed martial arts, win a championship, fight for 7 years. Then you had the first ever Latino in mixed martial arts, and that person beat Brock Lesnar. So you could kind of see that this is where they belong in the sport. Like, they're so talented, they could play any sport if given the opportunity. Coming in at lucky number 7 is going to be AJ Lee. Now, AJ Lee is one of my favorite wrestling fans. I mean, I'm one of her biggest wrestling fans. That didn't come out right. I'm one of her biggest wrestling fans. Now, from the time she showed up to the WWE and to the time she left, I've always supported her. Now, today, she's a book author. She's wrote 2 books. She's appeared in small roles in movies and television shows. We all know that she's married to CM Punk. We all know that she was a wrestler. And to me, one of the things that I wish people would just respect and acknowledge is that when she dominated in women's professional wrestling, she didn't just dominate and kick ass and take names. She did it CM Punk style. Like, she got to hold on to the women's championship belt for like almost the whole entire year and set a record that wouldn't be broken for almost 2 years. And the fact that nobody seems to really show the appreciation of that to me, I find that to be disturbing. Like, for you to put your heart and soul into something and then for it to just be ignored. And to me, I think that's probably why she didn't want to really do wrestling anymore, just because she was putting out she was having the best wrestling matches. She was winning her wrestling matches, but she wasn't getting on to pay-per-view as fast and quick as all the other women. And she was always being pushed to the side as eye candy and nothing else, when she has athletic ability. She can talk on the mic. She had other skills that she brought to the wrestling ring, even though we all say wrestling is just entertainment. But she was able to come in there and wrestle people bigger, stronger, and faster. And she managed to become a 4-time world champion. Now, her career was cut conveniently short, one, because there were injuries, and then two, there were decisions. Do I continue wrestling or do I want to have a family? And she made the best and safe call. She chose to have a family. Now, there were talks of her making a comeback, and she's young enough where she can come back and dominate again. I mean, you gotta really take your hat off to her, because all those injuries, constructive criticism, all of those adversities that she had to deal with, being told you're not good enough to be in the wrestling business, and then to prove people wrong, and to come from where she came from and to get into the business. Most people, if you don't have a talent agent, if you don't meet somebody in the entertainment business, especially professional wrestling, you don't get into the business of the sport. And to me, I'm one of her biggest fans, and she has a colorful personality. She is nice to most of her fans. Now, if you do say something stupid and dumb that's disrespectful, then you can't be surprised or shocked that she'll be upset, because for the most part, she is a nice person. She's been on radio podcasts, and she's even entertained the idea of a return, and so to me, she still has a bright future no matter what she does, whether it's books, writing books, television and film, whether it's a return back to the ring. I'm gonna be a 100% AJ Lee fan. She had good classical matches that to this very day they still play on their top 10 WWE women's best matches countdown. So you can tell she still is being mentioned by fans, and she's a veteran in this game. Women look up to her as a hero. Now, she should be rated much higher on this list because of her championship title reign. It did last for about a year, and for almost 2 years, nobody broke it. And when someone did break it, what I found disrespectful was the person who broke the record got all the credit, but they never wanted to acknowledge that the person who set the record set it for quite a while. It's like, wow, that's amazing. You could break somebody's record and get acknowledged, but the person who set the record for a whole year, CM Punk was champion for a whole year. She was champion for a whole year. So it made sense for her to be on top of her sport. And then the way that, her career was cut conveniently short, it's like it does bring back similarities to another person that's on my list. Coming in at number 6 is going to be Candice Michelle. You don't make a video without mentioning Candice Michelle. I only met the sexy, fine Mamacita only one time. 2007, WWE Summerfest. They were promoting SummerSlam at the time. They were doing big profile matches. It was going to be the return of Triple H because he was coming back from injury. I think they was doing Triple H versus Booker T, Dave Bautista versus John Cena, and they were letting wrestlers that they had on Raw and SmackDown compete for Summerfest. That same day, I saw Linnea Garcia, the person who done the ring announcing. She had done WWE ring announcing for years. And I got to meet Candice Michelle. Now, before she did professional wrestling, she did some modeling. A lot of people don't realize that. She did modeling. Late 90s, early 2000s, she did a lot of modeling. She has small roles in movies and television shows. And then she did those commercials that really put her on the map. GoDaddy.com. I mean, the minute she did that, it was a wrap. Everyone wanted to do business with this woman. And I had a crush on her. I had the magazine. Of course, my mom would pop me upside my head because I would look at the magazine and then I would pretend that I was in the WWE because I had that big of a crush on Candice Michelle. Most people don't ever get to meet their favorite celebrity crushes, no matter whether it's in entertainment, sports, and I was one of the few who was blessed and honored to actually get to meet one of my favorite celebrity crushes. Another one of her talents was that she also was really good on the mic. Like, she went backstage and got mic skills from The Rock and learned how to talk on the mic. And I remember one time she cracked a joke and I was laughing at it like, "You're real funny." And the fact that I had her autograph, I still have the autograph. And the fact that nobody really mentions her career, to me, it's just disrespectful. I mean, she came before all these new divas. She did open the doors for all these new divas, and nobody seems to really mention the name Candice Michelle. It's like, come on, this woman won the championship 3 times. This woman got to wrestle Trish Stratus, Lita. She got to wrestle a lot of the greats. Then she became one of the greats. And the fact that nobody really seems to take her serious, and I think it has something to do with because of they just saw her beauty, but they never saw her athletic skills. And it was like towards the end of her career in WWE that they began to take notice of her athletic skills. It's like, it would be nice if some of these women that come into the business got taken with more respect and more seriousness. Then, oh, you're just a pretty face and that. To me, Candice Michelle was much more than a pretty face. Like, you had some women that were pretty faces, but Candice Michelle was like, what if professional wrestler Shawn Michaels was a woman and still had that same popularity? Because you look at Shawn Michaels' career, people kind of in the beginning did not really take a like to Shawn Michaels. Well, people didn't take a like to Candice Michelle until later in her career. And when she decided to leave WWE and go somewhere else, that's when everybody wanted to see more of her. And it's just a shame that we didn't get more Candice Michelle. I mean, she had a bright future. She could have won more championships, more matches. You know, she could have been at more WrestleManias. She could have been in the women's first Royal Rumble. It's just a shame that it's too little too late that we didn't get a chance to see that level of greatness. All right, coming in at number 5 is Jackie Aztec Princess Nevada. Now, she is a professional boxer that's been boxing for 20 years. Now, she is a 2-time WBC, I think, bantamweight or featherweight champion. And she just recently had a fight, like, not too long ago where she lost. Like, this woman been boxing for 20 years, 2 championships, and this woman's been boxing for years. And the fact that she's been boxing for this long, it's like she's not ever mentioned. It's like, I don't know how you can go that long in your career fighting. You win championships, you beat people, and nobody really talks about your career as much. It's like, I don't know if it's the boxing promoter or what, but she's on this list because she's a prime example that Latina women can be beautiful and actually kick ass. Some men find that to be physically, sexually attractive. Some men do not. I'm one of the ones who do. All right, coming in at number 4 is Maria Jazia. Sorry if I messed up the last name. She is too a professional boxer. Now, she won 3 championships, and she's someone that's been boxing for 15 years, and she's a veteran. You know, she's had some of the biggest fights in her career. Now, in the beginning, I didn't know who she was, but I used to always watch a lot of these fights. Like, they would always show women fighting in the first hour or second hour before they got to the main event, and that's how I found out who she was. Now, I only seen her fight like maybe 2 or 3 times, and that was it. But in those 2 or 3 fights, I kind of said to myself, she could have got on to the same level as some of these new premier fighters that we see today. And she's another fighter that's good, that's great, that's going to go in the Hall of Fame, that should be respected and acknowledged for her accomplishments. Coming in at number 3 is going to be Melina Pezina. Sorry if I butchered the last name. Now, she's by far one of my favorite female professional wrestlers of the 2000s. I mean, she came in a period where there was a lot of fanfare. Like, she came in and just took over everything. At this point in time in history, Trish Stratus and Lita were on their way out. They were retiring. They wanted to have families. You know, we didn't have Chyna anymore. Beth Phoenix was injured, and Mickie James was taking on a big load all by herself. And right in the middle of this, Melina said, you know what? I'll help you out and I'll take over the game. It was like she was a cross between Wonder Woman and Xena the Warrior Princess. And from the beginning, she made you take notice of her. I mean, she did the splits, she did the primal scream, and to me, she carried the company on her back. Injured or not, she would have the best wrestling matches. I mean, she managed to win the championship 6 times. She got to wrestle and headline WrestleManias. She got to be at the Royal Rumbles. I mean, she had a good career for about 7 to 8 years, and then it was conveniently cut short due to injuries, jealousy in the locker room. People didn't like her because she was speaking out on what she thought was right and wrong. And to me, she got such a bad rap. Like, to me, she did the best she could in those situations. And to me, they ignore all of her accomplishments. That's what I do not like about what they do to Melina. Is like, she's been wrestling for like 20 years. She didn't just wrestle at WWE. She's had promotions at Ring of Honor. She's wrestled, I think, for TNA, Japan, Mexico, Canada. You name the place, she's wrestled everywhere. And she's been doing this for 2 decades. And she's very physically, sexually attractive. At her age, she don't even look 40. She still looks like she's 25 in her prime. And that's paying her a good compliment. And she's actually very nice to her wrestling fans. She'll sign autographs. She'll take pictures. She'll give out good advice. Just don't get on her bad side. Everyone tells stories about how their favorite wrestlers are high privileged brats. She's not a brat. She's a very nice, intelligent person. Just if you get on her bad side, then you ain't gonna be getting no picture and no autograph. Now, she almost attended Summerfest, but she had to actually attend another wrestling event. Otherwise, I would have met her too. I mean, her athletic skills, you took notice of in the ring. Like, she would do high-risk maneuvers. And if there's anyone I can compare her to on this list, it's probably going to be the next person that's coming up on the list. Because there are a lot of similarities between Melina and Lita. They did wrestle each other a lot. And she learned a lot from the veterans, and it's just like I said, it's a shame that they ignore all of her accomplishments and contributions to WWE. Like, they just ignore it. And to me, one day they would have to acknowledge that, and hopefully they put her in the Hall of Fame. If they don't, then I don't know what to tell you. Coming in at number 2 is Lita. Now, Lita is the wild child of the WWE. I mean, she put on some of the best wrestling matches. I mean, when you want to talk about matches that are unpredictable, Lita was that star, to be with the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, to make history winning the championship 7 times. She won the championship 7 times. She had incredible matches with Chyna and Trish Stratus that are the stuff of legends. See, she was in the golden age of women's professional wrestling. She was getting into the movies, the television shows, and she was in the prime of her career. And what cut her career short was having an injury. If you ever had an injury, your neck, your back, that shortened her career. She was only there for like 10 years, but the injuries put her on the shelf. And for her to write books, and then for her to come back, visit the locker room, and then try to teach the next generation of female wrestlers to be as good or as great as her is respectful. I mean, she learned from Chyna, and she took what Chyna taught her, and you see it went to good use because she carried the name of Chyna on her back. She represented not just herself, but she represented every Latina that wanted to play sports in anything. So that's why she's at number 2, because we got to have Lita at high regard. You know, she's a legend. She's an icon. You'll never forget her incredible matches. Everything Jeff Hardy does in the ring, she does pretty much the same exact thing. Coming in at number 1 is a legend, an icon, someone who came in a period where nobody expected a woman to show up and kick ass in wrestling, and that woman was Chyna. Now, she's by far my most favorite wrestler among the women, because she opened the door and she paved the way for women like Beth Phoenix, Nia Jax to come in and say it's okay to be bigger, it's okay to be different and unique, and for her to expand on her skills, to go from winning the women's title 3 times to a 2-time Intercontinental title, wrestling Chris Jericho, wrestling Kurt Angle, wrestling Jeff Jarrett, to getting into the movies, the television shows, writing 3 books, to having a YouTube channel. Chyna has done it all in the Hall of Fame. Now, you can say what you want about Chyna. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but this woman was Wonder Woman wrestling. It's just unfortunate that what happened, and had she been alive today, and had she had an opportunity to be invited to see the first ever Women's Royal Rumble, I think she would have been honored to see it, but would have been even bigger and better is if they asked her if she ever participated in the first ever Women's Royal Rumble. Some of these ideas she would have loved to seen happen. And she's a pioneer, because now when you look back in history, you always say Andre the Giant's the 8th wonder of the world. They always say Chyna's the 9th wonder of the world. They always say that on WWE. And now when you think about it, she is. Now, she's someone that I probably could have met once or twice, but at that time I was in high school, I was in college. My dad met Chyna twice and spoken to her twice. And pretty much Chyna will always go down in history as one of my favorite female wrestlers. If it weren't for Chyna, WWE probably would have never, ever considered making a lot of these women champions. Like, she opened the door, and if you think about it, she's led the revolution for Latina women in sports. Because no one talked about Latina women doing sports before Chyna showed up, and when Chyna came in and left, all of a sudden now you got this new generation of Latinas doing sports everywhere, and you would have to say Chyna's the one who kind of had that big major influence, and to pass the torch respectfully, gracefully, humbly. So this video was for Latina women, because Latina women do sports, and this is the 3rd video in my series, and hopefully when we have the Olympics, I can do more videos like this where they're gender neutral and they're for women and for men. Till next time, peace.